And today, President Biden keeping preemptive pardons on the table for Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, and others. In an interview with USA Today, published today, the president said he wasn't opposed to the idea, but had yet to make a final decision. To break this down for us is Jeremy Rosenthal, trial attorney and founding partner of Rosenthal, Calabus, and Therian. Jeremy, thank you for coming on today. So walk us through this. Would a preemptive pardon from President Biden protect people like Cheney and Fauci from any and all legal action against them? I mean, how does this work?
It would be in some ways kind of like the pardon to Hunter Biden, which in many ways sort of mirrored the pardon of President Richard Nixon. So what the president could do under the Constitution is he could issue a pardon which says, I am pardoning you for any federal offenses that were committed between this time and this time. And the one tricky part is that a pardon by law has to be accepted by the person. So the question is does Liz Cheney, does Anthony Fauci, does anybody else who's the target of one of these preemptive pardons, do they want to accept it? Because when you do accept it, you're essentially conceding some degree of guilt. But he can block off certain fields at a time within the federal law that he wants.
And speaking of presidential pardons, I also want to get your take on those two death row inmates who rejected the president's commutation of their sentences. Now, one of them is saying that it strips him of his protection of heightened scrutiny. Break this down for us.
It's pretty tricky if you're going to reject a pardon, you are in almost all certainty concerned with some type of reputation or some type of character thing. And somebody who is on death row, I don't know what kind of information they're getting, and I don't know what kind of legal advice they are getting. It would seem to me that if you are rejecting a commutation of your sentence, it's your right to do that. You can certainly do that. The pardon is there for you to accept or not accept. But if you are going to reject it, you do it at your own peril. And I would be concerned about the information that these inmates are getting.
And so you're saying that in this case, it is possible to reverse the president's decision?
Not so much reverse, but again, a pardon's a two-way street. And the U.S. Supreme Court has indicated that, again, a pardon has to be accepted. There's a giver and there's a receiver. It's a contract. And so the recipient of it doesn't have to take it. Now, the courts can't strip you of it. That's the one thing that can't happen. A court can interpret a pardon depending on how the language is and the scope of a pardon. A court could certainly say, well, we interpret this pardon to mean this and not that. You are pardoned of this action and not that action. A court can certainly do that, but a court can't come on and say, no, we're still going to put you to death if you're a death row inmate. But if the inmate doesn't want it, then they don't have to take it. And again, I would be concerned about the legal advice that person's getting or the other people that are in that person's ear. You would assume on death row that you might be getting some misinformation, or there may be some people that you're talking to that aren't clear-headed about it.
And so would you say that's why the other 35 people whose death row sentences were also commuted by the president last month chose not to reject their commutations?
I mean, I think so, right? I mean, if you, and it's certainly very difficult if you're a death row inmate. It's certainly very difficult to accept, look, I'm going to be in prison in life versus they're going to put me in death. It's hard to get inside those people's minds, but you're essentially being granted life. I would think that the obvious choice for people who value that is to go ahead and accept it. As a lawyer, if somebody's asking me for my legal opinion on it, if a client is asking me, do I take a life sentence or do I take a commutation which spares my life, or do I reject it? My question or my statement to them is, well, if you want to live, I think the answer is obviously yes.
Now, in terms of legal proceedings, what else do you think we can expect to look out for in Biden's final days as president and then the first days of Trump's second term? I mean, January 20th is right around the corner.
Right. So obviously, Joe Biden has been very aggressive with his pardoning power. As we've already been talking about, all of the federal death row inmates, whose sentence he's commuted. He's also pardoned a number of nonviolent offenders in their prison sentences. He issued his pardon to Hunter, his son, which was a reversal, of course. I think we can expect to see more pardons, more commutations in the last couple of weeks. You traditionally always see that. So you can see another round of that. On Donald Trump's way into the office, I don't know who or what is going to be his priority. You have to also, from a political standpoint, know that, okay, the first steps that we take are going to be really important. And I don't know, for instance, you hear a lot about the January 6 offenders and those folks who are in prison. I don't know that that's going to be Donald Trump's first thing that he does. He might wait until February. He might wait till March. I mean, the man's going to be in office for 4 years, so I don't know that he's necessarily going to want to lead off with that. But then again, you never do. You never know. And also, a lot of what we're kind of talking about in terms of these pardons that Joe Biden is not ruling off the table. He's doing it, or he would tell you that he's doing it based on the rhetoric or the people that Donald Trump are appointing. Right, a lot of concern over somebody like Kash Patel, who has, in essence, said, well, we're going to go after this person, we're going to go after that person. Obviously, Anthony Fauci and the former president, soon to be again president, didn't really get along during his first term. So those are the types of people, and that's the type of rhetoric that we're sort of keeping our eye on. I believe Biden also told Trump in their face-to-face meeting, it's been reported, to talk about, look, don't go settle old scores, and Trump was silent on the matter. So I think if we see anything in these last several weeks, we may see these preemptive pardons. Again, you take a guy like Mark Kelly, who was Trump's former chief of staff. He fought in Vietnam, and he has served in the military his whole life. He's a former Marine. He may say, you know what? Joe, I'm good. I don't need your pardon. I'm fine, taking on anything that this guy wants to send my way. So it does set up a very interesting dynamic.
So based on your expertise, before we go here, do you think these concerns for Cheney or Fauci are legitimate?
It's hard to really know. I would say probably not. But then again, I'm not Liz Cheney. I'm not Anthony Fauci. I don't know what they're being told. I don't know what they're seeing. And I don't know if there's any criminal liability or not. If they're coming to my office and I'm advising them, what I'm telling them is, look, the president may offer you a pardon. If the president does, it's your decision to take it or not. And look, are they coming after you? It's anybody's guess. My guess is that there's bigger fish to fry, and my guess is that President Trump would almost certainly take the country in a direction forward and not necessarily backwards, despite the rhetoric. But you don't want to guess and be wrong if you're Liz Cheney or Anthony Fauci. If you get a pardon, it's hard to turn it down if you think that danger's coming your way.
Absolutely. So important to keep our eyes forward to improve the future of the country. Trial attorney Jeremy Rosenthal, thanks for your take today.
Thank you. Have a good day.